Welcome to the party. I'm Sam Ekstrom of Locked On Sports Minnesota. Is Matthew Stafford going to be the quarterback that I become obsessed with, a la Russell Wilson? Find out.
I'm Luke Braun of Locked On Vikings. Fine, I'll throw at the combine.
Hey, this is Arif Hasan with the Wide Left Substack. Multiple sources have confirmed to me that Sam Ekstrom will be singing Rumors by Stevie Nicks.
Luke Inman at Luke_Spinman. Yeah, Combine Week's got me thinking about Sam's freaky Combine tape. Can somebody pull that up?
Locked On Sports Minnesota podcasts. It's endless Minnesota Vikings talk with the diverse voices of your local experts. It's time for the Minnesota Football Party. It's your guys hanging out talking next level Vikings football. So join in with Arif Hasan, Locked On Vikings Luke Braun, Superior Sports Talks Luke Inman, and Vikings insider Sam Ekstrom, plus the biggest names in Minnesota football for the Minnesota Football Party. And it starts now.
Hello and welcome into a new week on the Minnesota Football Party on Locked On Sports Minnesota. So glad you've joined us, whether you're watching live or hearing the audio in the Locked On Vikings podcast feed. We appreciate it. Please comment. Please subscribe. We've got plenty to get to today, including Matthew Stafford rumors. Could it make sense to put him in purple? We've got the Combine press conference preview. These guys will do their best Kwesi, Adofo-Mensah, and Kevin O'Connell impressions. Free agency news, party fouls, all to come on today's Minnesota Football Party. It's part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day, and it's brought to you by FanDuel. New customers can get $150 in bonus bets if your first $5 bet wins. Before we dive in to Matthew Stafford's steam, I just got to know, I missed Thursday, did Ron Johnson show up with a cigar or a drink in his hand for Mexico? Did that bet hit? I need to know the answer.
No, but he was shirtless.
He was shirtless. Yep.
Okay.
Yeah.
So at least one of the prop bets paid. Good to know.
Yeah, I asked him if he was going golf and how many Pro V1s has he lost. He goes, no, I haven't been golfing since the last time I went. What was that, a week ago? But then he was like, but we're going tomorrow. But he was on the volleyball court, and basically there was a, in typical Ron fashion,
he scheduled a game over the podcast, and someone asked him what he did for a living, and he remembered he had to do the podcast.
So he showed up 10 minutes late, but we said, hey, make sure you tell that guy thank you for asking you that question, just so you showed up and remembered to jump on the podcast. But yeah, it sounds like he was dominating out there in sand volleyball down there.
Just playing against his daughters and their friends. I mean, I feel like Ron.
There was a healthy crew down there.
There's a resort sort of kind of. Oh,
okay. An organized event.
Organized pickup. Yeah. Okay. So it's like a bunch of people at the resort do pick teams, and he always gets picked first because why wouldn't you have an NFL wide receiver on your volleyball team against a bunch of resort juds?
He said he said the wife had to calm him down and remind him not to go full meet the parents on the spike. A couple times.
Yeah, Vince Vaughn in the Wedding Crashers pickup football game vibe.
Yeah, basically.
Yes. Yeah. Very, very funny. Yeah, I'll get the full recap from Ron on Thursday as well when he rejoins. But we start this show with the topic of the NFL. Matthew Stafford is apparently available via trade if somebody wants to swing something. He's got 2 years left on his Rams deal. $49 million in the first year, $53 million in the next year. I think the prevailing wisdom is this doesn't make sense for the Vikings. They've got a quarterback to give $1 million to, or millions of dollars to, and Sam Darnold. Why would they trade for Matthew Stafford? But I want us to be open-minded. I want us to think outside the box, go against the grain. I don't care what your beliefs are. I want you to sell me on this Matthew Stafford in purple deal. I want you
Such a strong thing to say.
I want you to make a good, strong case for Matthew Stafford on the Vikings. Luke Braun, hit me.
The case is Matthew Stafford has won a Super Bowl. He has showed no signs of slowing down. Don't check me on that.
My God.
The
worst salesman I've ever seen.
And, hey, what's the most the Vikings have ever won? Most games the Vikings have ever won in a season was 1998 with an old quarterback who people were like, thought was done, right? So go run this thing back. You won 14 games with Sam Darnold. Run this back. Don't take risks that J.J. McCarthy is going to be a disaster. Like, what if he comes in and he sucks and he ruins this thing that you've built that's clearly very good? Run it back, but with an upgraded quarterback. That's the idea. Don't ask me what happens 2 years from now, though.
Yeah. Well, also, too, like, I'm not in a position to tell KOC if he makes a decision, especially at quarterback, he's wrong. Like, he should. I think at this point, we know. Hey, dude. Yeah. Okay, you've earned some rope here. All right, you clearly know what you're doing at quarterback. And
hey, what happened last time? Matt Stafford and KOC were on the same offense.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, they did okay. They won some games. They did okay. I think, too, everybody jumps to like, well, what about the rookie window? What about that rookie quarterback window and that salary cap? If you bring in Stafford for a year or two, there's still 2-3 years left on that rookie deal. So it's not all thrown out the window. It's not a total waste by any means. And also, too, I think, when you talk about JJ McCarthy's development, I think, looking back, people would always want to say, well, I'd rather be a little bit too cautious than say, dang, we rushed him and he just wasn't ready to get thrown in the fire, get thrown into the wolves. So, yeah, I mean, Luke's right. Like, dude's won a Super Bowl. I mean, you already know he fits your system like the back of your hand. This is the guy you won a Super Bowl with as an offensive coordinator, future Hall of Famer. Yes, he's not in his prime anymore, but he's got those intangibles, the football IQ that can help you get over the hump and win some big games in the playoffs, which, at the end of the day, that's what it's all about. I mean, you got to go beat some alien quarterbacks in the playoffs nowadays in the NFL. And you can still let JJ develop behind them and you don't have to rush that process, and you still get 2 years potentially on that rookie deal when it's all said and done. So if you got superstars in their prime, like Justin Jefferson, and like Luke said, if you just won 14 games and now you got a ton of cap space, the window's now. Like, go get your guy. If that's your guy, go get him.
So the Vikings will make only 2 moves this entire offseason. Stafford
trade their whole draft.
And Cooper Kupp. Stafford and Kupp.
No Kupp. No, we're not doing Kupp. Okay, so
now
we
doing
draw
Kupp,
the line somewhere. We got to draw the line.
It's a package trade because they don't have a second, so they'll have to send their first, which is more, and in return they get Cooper Kupp too.
And then if I learned anything from the Herschel Walker trade, you cut Kupp and then you get a second.
Oh, right.
That's how it should work. Yeah.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Okay. No. The case is obvious. So you already mentioned a couple of things. They've already won a Super Bowl together. But like, think about it this way, right? Yeah. You might pay a little bit down the line when you start moving around the money and have void years and stuff like that. But like, ask the Rams if they are regretful of the fact that they traded away their entire draft and all of their cap space to try and grab Matthew Stafford and a bunch of veterans and make a Super Bowl run. Of course they're not. They're absolutely happy with the decision that they made. You have to make these big risks. You take a look at some of the best Vikings seasons we've ever seen, like you mentioned, 1998, but also like 2009. Bring in guys not only who know the system, but have the ability to be volatile, make big plays, have the ability to beat the aliens, like you said, Luke, in the playoffs. Because the only way that you win in the playoffs is by having the best quarterback on the field that day. And you have to have that potential. Matthew Stafford showed he had that potential back when he won a Super Bowl, and he could show that he has that potential again. He takes big risks. He's got a big arm. He knows how to like hold on to the ball, waiting for someone like JJ Jordan Addison to get open. He knows how to use somebody like TJ Hawkinson, I've heard tell, right? I think that if you like look at the Vikings window, as it were, it's not really about windows. It's about manufacturing windows. It's not about the windows that you're in. It's about the windows that you can create. And the Vikings have the opportunity to create a window here in hunting for big plays, having the best receiver in the NFL. And as someone in the comments just mentioned, you could finally get JJ to 2,000 yards, which sounds dope. I don't see a reason why you wouldn't want.
I'm sold.
Like that.
Let's make it happen. I'm good. Let's do it. Let's do it.
Like,
I'm pumped.
So you win. So like, boo-hoo, you win a Super Bowl this year, and you have to pay in cap space 2 years from now. Oh no! Oh my stars! What are we gonna do? It's fine. Plus, you still got that rookie quarterback. And here's the thing about JJ: I want JJ to develop as much as possible. That's great. He had a fake development year. He couldn't practice. What if he gets to practice with a future Hall of Fame quarterback, which I guess he probably would be when he wins the second Super Bowl with the Vikings. But a future Hall of Fame quarterback to learn from, as opposed to, and bless him, but Sam Darnold, right? Like, I would rather JJ get that development year while he's healthy and learning from Matthew Stafford.
This is clearly one of you is a debater. And it's Arif Hasan because that was a convincing case. That was legit. That was good.
One has experience,
and
I couldn't tell. I couldn't tell if you believed it or not. That's the beauty of it. You might have
absolutely don't do this. Are you kidding me?
Yeah. Do any of us actually believe this? Can we? No.
None of four of us.
Okay. Yeah. No.
How many void dollars would Kwesi tack on to the end of this deal? I mean, he's clearly going to put 30 million
every
in void money.
Dollar.
Yeah.
It's the cap space is kind of, I mean, you take a look at this is going to be part of the pitch too. You take a look at the rookie quarterback window or whatever. It doesn't matter. Who are the last couple of quarterbacks to win the Super Bowl? You've got Patrick Mahomes and Jalen Hurts on their second contracts. You've got Tom Brady on his 15th contract. And you've got Matthew Stafford. Who cares?
the fad is over.
The cost in dollars accompanied by a potential cost in draft capital to get him, that's the hang up for me.
It's important.
Idea. Yeah.
He wants to renegotiate that deal. So the cost in dollars that you would pick up, it'd be like $27 million a year. And he wants more than that. So don't get dreams of a $27 million Matt Stafford, which would be an insane deal. It's gonna be more than that. And I think that's kind of why it's not working out in LA, is because he wants to redo his deal and LA doesn't want to do that. But also it's a 2-year contract. So if you are redoing the deal and you're not adding any real years to it, which that could also be a thing, you kind of are puking away the whole rookie contract. That's 2 of the remaining 3 years of JJ McCarthy being cheap. If you want the 5th-year option, that's still relatively expensive. That becomes a non-negligible cost, and then you start franchise tagging and extending and stuff like that. But usually by year 5, if you want to keep him, it's going to cost you.
The Packers claim that worked with Jordan Love, so
you know what I love? When the Vikings are the last team in the playoffs and an easy wild card exit every year.
Speaking of wild card exits, is Matthew Stafford overrated as a playoff quarterback when you look at the entirety of his work? He's had 4 one-and-dones, a 2-and-done.
3 of those were in Detroit.
And a Super Bowl. Okay.
Yeah, okay. So think about
3 of those were in
Detroit. Is that I don't know that there is a spot in football analysis, both time-wise and content niche-wise, where he has been properly rated. I maintained while he was in Detroit, he was persistently underrated. And then with the Rams, I think real football guys, the guys that love to talk about quarterbacks and break down film and stuff like that. I think they overrated him pretty substantially, talking about him as a top 3 quarterback. He's good, but chill. But it's difficult to find one where it's I think he's the 9th best quarter. There's just not a lot of people putting him there. It's this guy chokes except the one time. And also, this guy's the best who's always been let down by the people around him, which, I get. It was Detroit. That does make sense, but, chill.
Stafford is 1-6 on the road in the playoffs. Just saying. 1-6. 1-5. I'm wrong. 1-5. 1 out of 6. I don't know. The pedigree in the playoffs is what you would be trying to get, the playoff experience. And it's hard to just overlook a Super Bowl. He won 4 games in the playoffs with this head coach who's here. I get it. It's appealing. It's tempting. It's really, really expensive. Oh, it's expensive. It's nauseatingly expensive when you're staring at the possibility of this rookie quarterback, all this cap space. It would be a letdown for me. I'm going the opposite way now. You guys tried to sell me on it. I told you, don't try to sell me on this. Because I'm in no way going for it.
Sam is unhinged.
Sam's out of control.
No, it doesn't. So here's what I can't square away. If you are into the idea of trying to take risks to maximize your window, a short-term Stafford thing, even if he is still as good as we think, is still 1 or 2 years. And I feel as Vikings fans, we've seen enough of let's try one magical year with a rental quarterback. Like we've all grew up watching that. If your idea is to just say, you know what, we got a lot of veterans, let's try, let's really go all in and try to, maximize what we have and minimize that risk as much as possible. Doesn't it make more sense to stick with the guy that just won you 14 games and say, like, look, if we want to run this back, let's run this back. And it's less expensive. Like, I don't see the like window between being risky and not risky where this particular thing makes sense.
Interesting. Less upside and probably more expense with the guy you'd be acquiring than the guy you just had.
And no long term.
I think part of the premise of the arguments that we were making is that Stafford is the same guy he was 3 years ago, and I'm not like convinced that that's the case. I am kind of concerned about kind of where he is as a quarterback. I don't think that he's got the same tools. So, I think there's much more risk here than I think is being advertised by the way that people kind of pitch this trade in general. So, yeah, the whole point, like you mentioned, Luke, is this upside, right? And it doesn't fit, the kind of strategies of pursuing upside that the Vikings have approached. That's true, but also I don't know that the upside is really there in the same way.
I like Landon Miller's comment. DJ Reed, Byron Murphy, Johnny Munt, dream free agency. You can't do that. You can't get Johnny Munt back if you trade for Matthew Stafford. You just can't. It doesn't.
You got to choose a former Ram. Yeah, you have to make Kevin O'Connell choose one of his babies.
Right.
Fantastic. Just fantastic.
When we return, I've got a surprising new segment. Plus, I'm going to hear an impression from one of these guys of Kwesi, Adofo-Mensah, or Kevin O'Connell. I don't know who's going to do it. I don't know who they're going to impersonate, but it is going to happen on the other side of this break. Brought to you today by FanDuel. The NBA is back from the All-Star break. Final push in the regular season. No better way to get in the action than FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. Bet before the game, bet during the game with live betting features. Put together a live same-game parlay. You can bet on a fourth-quarter comeback, live player props, all available at FanDuel.com. New customers right now. If you win your first $5 bet, you get $150 in bonus bets. It's a nice little chunk of change to spread around on college basketball, maybe save a little for March Madness. You've got NHL hockey that's back now. A lot going on in sports, and you can cash in at FanDuel, the official sports betting partner of the NBA. All right, welcome back, Minnesota Football Party. Please subscribe. Please check out our full lineup. We do this again on Thursday. We've got our Care 11 crew doing the show on Wednesdays now, plus the Ron Johnson show on Tuesdays. New segment. The name of the segment is Bad Take Anniversary. This show's been going on long enough now that we have we have receipts from back in the day.
Oh, my internet connection's going out.
Concern.
Yeah. Sorry, Sam, I'm going through a tunnel right now. You're not coming in.
Okay, Sam, you didn't overhype that. You did not overhype that. That's phenomenal.
So today's Bad Take Anniversary goes back to February 23rd, 2023. Wow. I asked Luke Braun a question about Vikings free agency, in particular, the wide receiver position. Let's listen in. Wide receiver help in free agency as we continue on our free agency preview series.
I have a very degenerate idea, and it's because I could never quit Michael Thomas. Can we see what he's got? Can we throw?
You want
something at him? Yeah,
I do.
Boy? Yeah,
Slant boy.
I mean,
I'm in. Slant boy.
Let's throw a couple mil at him.
I
have no regrets.
One of my best
Incentive-laden
draft
contract?
hits was Michael Thomas. I might have had him wide receiver 1 in that draft. So I'll take it.
And that's today's Bad Take Anniversary. And we were all for it, it seemed like. We were all echoing.
Well, cheap. I mean, kind of no.
I was doing it for the take. I didn't think it was a good
I will not apologize for that.
Yeah.
Kick the tires on a guy that may be on the outs. Bring him in for a vet min. He wouldn't have made the team. Nobody would have been hurt. Okay? I'm good.
You went deep. You went deep in the well 2 years ago. You went 2 years ago on that one, Sam. Well done.
Well, I'm glad that we're not pulling IP from like other shows that all of us may have been on from like 6-7 years ago. So someone may have drafted Vernon Adams in the first round of a mock draft. Who's to say?
Who's to say? I don't know.
Anything from more than 2 years ago doesn't count. That's been my rule. Any take you have from more than 2 years ago doesn't count because you've learned, right? Unless you're done learning.
We've evolved.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, the intrepid host/producer of this show may have others in the holster that he'll be going back to.
Wow. As Sam's sitting in a dark room, scrubbing through hours and hours of years-long podcasts, saying, "I will get my revenge."
That's what he does when he's like on the bus to like some hockey tournament.
Right.
He like listens to old episodes.
I was on the bus till 4 a.m. on Saturday night. I had lots of time, boys.
Oh wow.
We also have two. We have not one, but two Locked On Vikings hosts on this show. I could go back to 2016 with archived audio.
With some Sage Rosenfeld.
Like an old Sage Rosenfeld's take.
Sage Rosenfeld.
Oh, you could find some bad stuff from me on like 2018, 2019 when I first started that show. Audio quality horrible. I had a snowball with a loose cable that would jiggled around and like static. And boy, the takes weren't better.
Your
Also, many
podcaster's best friend, the Yeti Snowball.
USB plug-in. Just
we all got to
plug
start
it in and
somewhere.
Like USB A to USB A, just the worst.
I didn't even have to stand. I just held it.
Bobbing around
like a wine goblet.
No
like,
way.
Before the days we were even on YouTube with Locked.
Yeah, I wasn't on YouTube yet. I was just like on my bed in my apartment, like trying to keep a reasonable angle at it. Doing
Long
crossovers on
forgotten in
Skype.
history, but the Luke took the job after the brief tenure of Jordan Reed. Now ESPN draft analyst of the future. Yeah. Incredible era of talent. The talent pipeline that Locked On has produced. He's part of our proverbial coaching tree. So
we'll claim him. Sure.
Yeah, we'll take it.
Yeah, we'll claim him. So the combine is getting started. KOC and Kwesi talk tomorrow, 11:30 Central. I love a good KOC impersonation, good Kwesi impersonation, where they say a lot, but they really say a little. Sometimes the reporters get them in a little more relaxed setting and they will say more. But what are you guys expecting to hear from the GM and the head coach? If anybody's got a good impersonation at the ready, I would love to hear it. What are we going to hear? Then we'll compare notes to what actually gets said tomorrow.
It looks like no one's volunteering.
No one's gonna boldly step forward.
KOC and Quay, I feel like they're tough to kind of impersonate. Like I can do like a.
We need to ask a question and then somebody answers in the impression.
Tee it up.
Because I don't know, what are we going to be talking about here?
Toss a softball there.
Ask me one about the quarterback situation. Let's go.
Yeah, sure. Hey, Kevin, Arif Hasan, Wildlife Substack.
Hey,
I just wanted to know kind of what the approach was at the quarterback position. I know that Sam, the deadline for his void year hit, but it is still possible to kind of re-sign him. Is that something that you're willing to entertain?
Well, thank you for the question. I appreciate that question, Arif. Good to see you the other night at St. Elmo's. We absolutely loved our year with Sam. He did everything we asked. He was a great teammate. Led us to some big wins, elevated his game, and played his best when his best was required. Nothing but good things to say about Sam. We've had constant dialogue with Sam that's been very productive. He's earned the right to control his future, see what options may be out there for him. I have a great relationship with Sam. Whether we can make something work or not, that part is always going to be the same. We won 14 games with him as our quarterback. He helped shape the culture for us. We've obviously been here before with Kirk Cousins. We know how competitive it can be when a good quarterback becomes available. It doesn't happen every day in our league, but we're certainly talking with Sam, and we'll see what happens in the next couple of weeks.
That was outstanding, Sam. That was outstanding. I'm so glad none of us did impressions because that was
This is why nobody volunteered. We know who this is for. This is Sam's moment.
Yeah. Do you have a question?
This is Sam's segment.
Yeah, very selfish. Yep.
Very selfish. Do you want us to pitch you a Kwesi question?
Support it.
I feel like I'm only going to get worse.
That's true. That's fair. You started on a real high note.
I can't top that.
That was incredible. Like the word competitive thrown in there was fantastic, mentioning multiple times the number of games that they won with Sam.
Right on brand. Yeah.
It was so good.
I think that we're going to get a really good indicator from the head coach and the GM without giving anything direct. I think that reading between the lines is going to tell us all we need to know. I think we're going to
feel like he might be direct. He said it like the Super Bowl. Yeah,
He has
we'll see how free agency goes for Sam Darnold. Like they're just saying it.
Yeah. Like, I think that, like, I love the impression. I do think the answer will go in another direction because it already has gone in another direction in response to that question. Also, like, I don't think local media is going to be asking that question. I think it's going to be national media asking that question.
Yeah.
So he gets to do the same thing.
Will there be a reporter who never actually got the truth about his, like, wrongly attributed quote at Honors? Remember that when it was reported that he said,
that'd be good.
Said,
or somebody to ask about JJ McCarthy's ACL.
Oh,
yeah.
That would be good.
Yeah,
That would be
the
good.
two pieces of fake news that have circulated. Yeah. Someone put that out there the other day, the ACL thing. I think it was like FS1. The host on FS1 was talking about JJ McCarthy's ACL.
Well, because Schefter kept referencing
Yeah.
a torn ACL, which like did not happen. And he mentioned it like multiple times.
Yes. A lot of this is Schefter's fault. Do we think that if they haven't tagged Darnold by now, they're not going to tag him? Or do we think it would still not happen until post?
I think letting
the
it
window open
past
last
the void
week.
deadline. Yeah, I
Yeah.
think letting it past
Yeah.
the void deadline, just because you're going to take on this cap hit now, no matter what happens. So there's no reason. Like you're not going to tag him. Like you've already indicated your preference here.
Importantly, the tag window opened after the void date. So like that was always the state of affairs. So if they ever were considering the tag, they were considering it and including like that extra money off of the void years. But I just kind of don't think they're going to do it. They can. It's still very much an option. And it's one that I guess that they've considered, but it just kind of sounds like they're like, okay, bye, bud. Like it just doesn't sound like they're going to complicate it this much.
Who knows what happens down? I mean, a lot can and does happen down in Indy, like we know every year too. I mean, I'm sure one of their big goals going to Indy this week is like, behind the scenes finding out, is there any market at all for this guy? Is there any market for Sam Darnold? Any teams have any interest in trading for him? I just got to assume this week behind the scenes, that's like number one on their bulletin board down in Indy, so they can come back and really start putting kind of the finishing touches on their offseason blueprint, if you will. But yeah, a lot. I mean, as we know, a lot happens behind the scenes down at the combine. So if anything was to change, maybe this would be the week that something goes down behind the scenes that we really wouldn't know anyways until all this stuff comes out weeks from now. So we'll see.
I'm going to need one lukewarm scoop from Arif Hasan on the next show because you are going to Indianapolis.
Yeah, I mean, hopefully when I socialize in the areas where people will be dropping, spicy news, I will be sober enough to remember it the next day. That's always the goal, I think, in Indy as a reporter, is to pretend that you're
gonna take
altered
pretend
enough.
sips.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. But yeah, I'll probably have like the worst scoop you've ever heard for sure. I could do that.
Love that.
I mean, I don't need it to be football related. I just want to know like what Sean McVay ordered for his appetizer.
Yeah.
That's really all I
Oh no, he keeps that one really close to the vest. That's not happening.
Anything personnel related that's of intrigue at the combine? I know that. So Luke Braun paying off your cold open. Nobody's throwing. Shadur's not throwing. We got some holdouts. What's going on?
Shuck is
pro
throwing,
days,
right? The Louisville quarterback, he's throwing, right?
What's the deal with this guy? I feel like this guy just popped into everyone's consciousness like last week.
I don't know. Okay, so I was talking about this with some friends, and it just feels like Draft Twitter attaches themselves to some mid quarterback like every couple of cycles, and sometimes not even
this is
mid.
a Spencer Rattler situation.
Yeah, Spencer Rattler's a really good example of that. But like we were going back, I was like, I kind of remember how people were attached to David Fales. I remember how people were Vernon Adams is a really good one. Brett Rippon. Like this just happens sometimes where everybody is all in on this quarterback. That Anthony Gordon, like it's just like okay,
Anthony Gordon
Just got brought up in the right group chat, and now suddenly the powers that be. There's a deep state thing going on, I think.
Well,
Yeah,
how did he look down to Senior Bowl, Arif? I mean, he flash at all? Like, did that start the momentum, I guess? Because I really haven't heard a lot about him until the last couple days as well. But was he voted by the defensive backs top quarterback by the something weird like that or what?
I don't remember kind of who won what awards, but none of the quarterbacks were like interesting to me at the Senior Bowl, right?
Sure.
So
yeah.
Let's take a look at like DJ's practice standouts real quick.
Mm-hmm.
Let's see if he's got any quarterbacks at all, because I'd be kind of shocked if he did. He does not, which is crazy because when you write for NFL.com, you kind of want to talk about quarterbacks. No one talk about the quarterbacks.
Here's a Lewis Riddick.
You mentioned Aiden O'Connell. That's a good one.
Aiden O'Connell's good. Yeah. Lewis Riddick, ESPN, said that Shaw would be the steal of the draft, and the Senior Bowl helped boost his draft stock.
Sure. But like, I think it's like, because the way I was introduced to this guy was someone was like, "Hey, Arif, try to pronounce this guy's last name," which is fair. I had 4 attempts and I failed all of them. It is pronounced Shuck. Okay. But he's like 26, constantly injured, has like a pretty good arm. I don't know. I don't know what the deal is with this guy. I think a couple weeks ago, people were talking about Jackson Dart, like he could float into the first round. It still feels like some people are saying that, which I don't really see. Left on Landon mentions Kyle McCord. I see him as being the hot quarterback of April. We'll see. That's coming down the pike. But
9 minutes ago, not quarterback related, but Pelissero reports that Ashton Genty is not going to do anything at the combine.
Why should he?
Ooh.
Okay.
They're all going to do it at their pro days, though, right?
Yeah.
So we get that testing just in friendly environments. I feel like we're just kind of headed toward that. The actual underwear Olympics of the combine is like barely a facade for what this really is, which is TamperCon.
Yeah, check out my piece from last year. Is the NFL Combine dying? Over at wildleft.football. It's about this. It's about that thing.
Free agency news and notes. My safety crush is off the market. Very sad. An extremely brief pause, and then we'll dive into
Molden. Okay.
Oh, spoiler alert. Jeez.
Whoops.
Well, Arif Hasan completely ruined the tease, but Elijah Molden is off the market.
What? Yeah, only one safety signed. What was it? Did you say it in the show notes?
I thought Javon Holland came to a deal with the Dolphins suddenly or something. I forgot about this whole thing.
You did say it in the show notes. My bad.
Elijah Molden was my safety crush. He re-signed for 3 years with the Chargers, so that is no longer an option. Also, Sheldon Rankins is available. He was cut by the Bengals.
Okay.
30-year-old defensive tackle who had a viral illness that cost him most of last year. Any interest in Sheldon Rankins?
No, first of all, not really. But second, I'm so poisoned by the state of discourse that when you said viral illness, I was thinking like an illness that went viral.
That went viral online.
Yeah.
Like you threw up on the sideline and it was a clip that.
Right. Yeah. It's just like, oh man, everyone saw it. Yeah.
Rankins is a strong TikTok game. Yeah.
Yeah, I gotta log off. That's what I'm learning.
Yeah, I'll pass on Rankins. I was intrigued until I dug into it a little bit. I don't know. Seems like he hasn't
been good for a bit. He was like real underrated for like about 2 years, and then he hit free agency.
This free agent class is such that I don't think you need to work things that much. I don't think you have to go for that kind of name but he's like super like turbo washed. You got better options.
We gave you 10 defensive tackles last week that are going to be available and better than Sheldon Rankins.
Yeah, there you go.
Sheldon Rankins might sign in like July. I don't know if he's the first, second.
He'd be a pretty good July signing for someone.
Yeah.
Maybe even the Vikings. I don't know. Depends on kind of.
Maybe
that would make sense. That could happen.
Yeah, a July
someone
signing.
Gets hurt.
For sure.
That's where Sheldon Rankins comes in. When you're a little more desperate, then you're going to be in March.
Yeah, and he'd be cheaper than the Gilmore July signing. So.
DeMarcus Walker and Gerald Everett cut by the Bears. Is Gerald Everett a former KOC guy?
I think so.
Yeah.
Did they overlap?
Right.
I'm pretty sure.
Okay, 3 moves then. Stafford,
All right, so-
Cup, and Everett.
And Everett, but no Johnny Munt.
But
Bring
no,
the
I'd
band.
rather have Johnny Munt. Jared Everett was a problem for Chicago. He was a
Yeah.
liability and like often the worst player on the
if,
field.
Only if you need someone to block, it's fine.
It's
Yeah,
fine.
it was well. He wasn't that good at getting open. Like he was bad. It's over for Gerald Everett. I don't mind the DeMarcus Walker idea though.
Yeah, actually, DeMarcus
As
Walker
your
is pretty
fourth
good. That one-
fourth
yeah.
edge. I'm still
Yeah,
team
Patrick
Jihad
Jones
Ward,
replacement.
but
Yeah.
in the spirit of kind of veteran cuts starting to happen, will the Vikings make a move this week? Will a veteran be
I think we
Probably.
talked. I think we talked last week. Like, okay, who are the top candidates? Like Brian
Yeah.
Asamoah, Ed Ingram, 3.3. But like
We-
outside
we
of that, I
kinda
don't know.
mentioned,
Those guys
uh,
are camp cuts to me if they get cut.
Sure.
Yeah, no,
I
that's
mean,
true.
it's
We
an
kind of
August thing.
mentioned Josh Oliver just because his cap hit. First of all, you can get rid of a lot of because his guaranteed money's gone essentially. But second, the cap hit's kind of high, which I mean suggests an extension or renegotiation more than a cut. But a cut is on the table, I would say.
I could see like a baby little extension for him that just kind of quietly flies under the
Just
radar
like-
while bigger things
yeah.
happen.
And flattens out
Because
the
Josh
hits.
Oliver is a very good player that should stay in
He's
Minnesota.
very good.
I don't think cutting
just-
him is worth the $5 million you would save. I don't think that $5 million gets you more equity than what you would get for keeping Josh Oliver right now.
Yeah, I think it's just like return on investment for which is like that's like a more of a sunk cost fallacy if anything. But like you're just not getting your money's. He is very good. You're just not getting your money's worth out of him. But yeah, I think it's more likely it's an
Yeah.
extension.
Yeah, like I put it this way: if you think of it, if you frame it like as a purchase instead of as saving money, like would you
Yes.
sign Josh Oliver right now for $5 million
$5
if
million, and
you
you would
if
say
you
yes.
didn't have him?
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm slamming that button every single
100%.
time.
Yeah.
As a tight end too, like he did kind of take over games sometimes, like when he was on the field. Like he was awesome at times, and had to be tight end 1 for a lot of the season, and it worked out. So I can't imagine seeing a season like that and then like trying to nickel and dime your way
Yeah.
into it. And then
Also,
signing a bad
I
tight
would
end
love
like
to
Gerald
see
Everett.
another like Josh Oliver leak for 40 yards for no reason. That's always like one of the most.
That's
fun
always the
plays.
best. Yeah.
I love it.
Well, like that's one of these things. Like your tight end doesn't need to be the Kyle Pitts best athlete in the world, because sometimes they do catch the ball in the flat with nobody around for 30 yards, and you get plenty of yards. Like it's fine.
Other than that, we don't see a ton of veteran cuts coming.
I think
Talk about Bradbury if you really like
Bradbury,
the-
Bradbury, if he's cut, would it be camp or would it be now?
It would be now. I think
Probably
out of
now,
respect to
right?
him to
I
let
think
him
money
find a
guarantees,
team,
right?
But is it guaranteed? Okay, well then that changes things.
But
But like,
guarantees like on a date.
oh,
Hold
okay,
on.
okay.
I'm looking that up because I might be thinking of the last year.
You know, I've always been kind of more down on Bradbury than
Yeah, that was
Braun has
last.
been.
That was last year.
But I don't, despite having been down on Bradbury, I just don't see it because it's like there are 3 interior offensive line positions you want to upgrade if you do that, as opposed to 2. That's just like a really difficult situation to be in when you don't have the assets the Vikings don't have, right? So that's a tough one to me. I could see it, right, because he's been underperforming, right? But like that's a lot of capital to make up.
We've lived in a world for a while where like Garrett Bradbury has lived in this space of like, yeah, you could improve on him if it's convenient to do so, but you're not going to like go out of your way to, and it just hasn't been convenient to do so. Like, I don't know, man, if the greatest center ever is available and wants to play for you for cheap, and then okay. But yeah, it feels like they've got other bigger emergencies.
Yeah,
I
this
think
is definitely like
there's a
hardcore
chance
stuff.
we're underestimating what Kwesi can do with all this money. Like if it is the 70 million or 65, whatever the number is that we think it's going to be, he could go 10 out of 10 in this free agency period, kick all the money down into void years, backload stuff. The cap is exorbitantly, it's going to be 300 million in a year. He could go all in and just sign everybody. Like there's a world where
like who
Yeah.
we talked about.
They're going to sign like 13 guys. We are going to have the most insane week.
Yeah,
we're going
so, like,
live all day on the 12th.
Yeah, cut Bradbury, sign
So
out of
in.
Drew Dahlman.
We're live.
Right? Like it's like the whole
Yeah.
thing is
Everybody.
If the Vikings are
fun.
upgrading 2 spots on the interior O-line, I think I'm tempted to try and make it work with Brandel because you've got him 2 years super cheap. I would try to make that work and then do center and right guard.
So I think I would. I don't mind the idea, but I think what I would do is I would sign someone who is the equivalent of like a 90th percentile outcome for Brandel. So like you get a pretty cheap, good-ish left guard who, because you signed him at whatever contract you don't mind him being your swing backup, but have him and Brandel compete, I think is what I would do there. Then be aggressive about right guard, and in this world, obviously, be aggressive about center. But yeah, I think having Brandel had issues. The whole reason he got benched was that he had issues. But like, I don't think it's over.
Brandel
didn't get benched.
Ingram got benched.
Oh, Ingram got benched. Right. Oh, Jesus.
Different guard, different mediocre.
Different guard problem. Yeah, I don't mind the idea of trying it another year, because like they did sign him to a 3-year contract, and then they never gave him competition last year. So like maybe give him someone to beat this time. Yeah, I agree, but like it also does kind of show like they did see him as like, okay, you are the left guard now, and we're gonna like let this ride. So maybe I kind of still think that they're gonna get like one guard that like competes with Ed Ingram, and it might be like bringing back Reisner, and then that's gonna be that, and everyone's gonna be really mad.
Still don't know where Rouse and Jurgens fit in. Would love to get something
Depth
from them.
If Rouse can be the David Questenberry, I'd be really happy about that. Yeah, like just as the swing tackle.
They should
Jurgens back up center, and
really
that's day 3 guys.
Retiring. Call Zach Martin, see if he's serious about retiring. Like, hey man, you sure?
Got a spot for you.
Send everyone down to Mississippi,
Luke Inman, I made a grave error today. I didn't put prospect of the day in the rundown. Do you have one just in reserve?
Yeah, I'm sure he's got.
Let's wing one. Yeah, let's wing one. Let's pull up some notes. Let's pull up some notes here.
Well, we can tap dance if you need a minute to
you got a center? How about we talk about this? You got a center?
Well, I've been, honestly, we've talked about Kenneth Grant, Jordan Phillips, a couple more D-tackles, CJ West, Indiana. I'm kind of on the defensive tackle train right now. So the last guy I started to watch. Give me 1 second here. Last guy I started to watch, Tennessee, Omar Norman Lott. Have you guys heard about this guy? Norman Lott. Okay.
I'm excited to
Tennessee, so got to be bad.
So not great, right? No. You guys know about James Pierce, first-round defensive end. James Pierce. So
yeah, not a huge fan.
Not a huge fan. Why aren't you a huge fan of James Pierce, if I just may ask very quickly?
Stuff I don't want to say in public. Off-field.
Oh,
wow. Sure. Okay, so mainly off-field stuff for James Pierce. Because outside of the off-the-field
also,
stuff...
Also, he's not like a
James
super
Pierce,
high-effort guy, if I'm going to be honest. But, like, sure.
Well, the one thing that I noticed when I was watching Omar Norman Lott, and the same kind of questions outside of the off-the-field stuff with James Pierce has come up, is like Tennessee, it feels like they had like a 15-man rotation. That's what it felt like. Now, I don't know how many guys they had in the rotation, but both of these guys, James Pierce and Norman Lott, don't have a ton of snaps under their belt this past 2024. So it's kind of tough because there wasn't a huge sample size this year, although I will say last year, he transferred from Arizona State. He's got 5 years under his belt, 3 years at Arizona State, 2 years at Tennessee. Last year, he did play more, but he got hurt 3 games as well. So it kind of evened out, but didn't play a ton of snaps this year. He's 6'1", 295. So very short, 295 though at 6'1", pretty thick. And you talk about that low center of gravity, kind of checks that box right away. But for how short he is, and Arif, maybe you can confirm this, he was down at the Senior Bowl. It sounds like he checked in at 34-inch arms, maybe just below 34-inch arms, which at 6'1", pretty solid. His hands, though, I think he had the biggest hands down at the Senior Bowl, 11 1/8 inch hands, which is pretty monster. So I know hand size, a lot of people joke about, like, okay, for some positions, it's overblown. Does it really matter that much? In the trenches, hand size, when you can legally use your hands you're snatching, you're grabbing, you're shoving, you're moving these guys, you're using those hands as a tool. Those monster hands, pretty nice to have sometimes. Also, too, I looked this up. His pass rush win rate is at 19.4%.
Oh,
that's not only the best of all the D tackles I've seen so far, but that's like up there with like some of the top edge rushers, like the Marshall kid, Mike Green from Marshall. He was at like 22%. So Norman Lott, 19.4% pass rush win rate. I like the low center of gravity, which we've talked about, that kind of low center of gravity build. He's not going to be like this physically imposing guy if you stand him next to the Kenneth Grants from Michigan, the Walter Nolans from Ole Miss. But at 295, though, at 6'1", he is very stout. He's very strong, uses those hands really nice. Again, with the measurables, arm length, hands, all that stuff, pass rush win rate off the charts.
Taking a look at the measurables right now. So the arm length is
confirm some of that for me because
so it's 33 and 5/8 inch arms,
33 and 5/8, so just under 34.
11 and 1/8 inch, or 11 and 1/8 inch, hands.
Okay,
which is huge.
Which monster?
Where are you seeing his height and weight? What's because I'm seeing
the Senior Bowl measurements.
So he was much lighter and shorter than his like Tennessee bio. Because
those bios, man, those school bios, you got to be careful.
Yeah.
Those school bios are all over the map.
Yeah.
That's why Senior Bowl weigh-in is some people poke some fun at the process, but like it is very educational as far as
reasonably longish arms, but because his total like wingspan is not that high because like his like chest isn't that large.
Yeah,
his wingspan is actually one of the lowest of the Senior Bowl guys, which is kind of interesting.
Interesting. Okay.
So here would be my question, just looking at the profile. Why doesn't he play more? Why? Because if he's not like a niche 340-pound nose.
Well, James Pierce, that's what I'm saying. James Pierce, I think it was a Tennessee thing. I don't know.
Okay.
Again, it just felt like the two games I've watched, I'm still very early in it, but it just felt like Tennessee's got like this 13-man rotation they were rolling with for some reason. So neither of them, and the more mocks that you start to read, Sam, like you're going to read this James Pierce guy, he was like a top 5 being mocked in the top 5 2 years ago, and then he stayed another year. And now, again, he didn't play as much. He got injured off the field stuff that Arif pointed to. Now he's like late first round, top 40 kind of guy. But he also just didn't log a ton of snaps either compared to a lot of these other guys too. So Norman Lott, again, defensive tackles, it's such a loaded defensive line group, defensive tackles as well. This guy might be 7th, 8th, 9th, 10th defensive tackle on some big boards that you look at, depending on who you're reading. But I don't know. We'll see how the combine goes. Maybe that 3rd round comp pick, maybe one of the 2 5ths, maybe he falls in your lap there. But very intriguing between the pass rush win rate, low center of gravity, kind of short, stocky. I don't know. We'll see how that plays out at 295. But the run game stuff, just from the 2 games I watched Florida, and then a smaller school one. I don't have it written down, but the run game stuff I'm worried about. Run game look kind of lost, gets washed out a lot from double teams. He loses the low center of gravity pretty quickly, gets too high. It's the pass rush stuff that really intrigues you.
Sure. So this is what I would say. So I'm taking a look at all the defensive tackle snaps from Tennessee guys, and he was 4th among defensive tackles in snaps. So I'm wondering
4th among just defensive tackles
just among
on Tennessee?
Tennessee. Okay. So I'm wondering if his high pass rush win rate is goosed a little bit by just being there on 3rd downs, right? Where pass rush win rate increases.
Sure. Pin your ears back. Yep.
Yeah. So while you're watching more games of his, try to note if he's
strictly a
much
3rd
more
down.
Often on 3rd down. Than the other guys.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, again, I did know, again, kind of a con for sure, or a weakness was him in the run game. He's definitely out there on 1st and 2nd down as well, but I will take
like
a conscious effort kind of thing of noting, noting some of those bigger plays and he's not field more often. But kind of interesting.
Man,
just again, pick your flavor with these defensive tackles, man, and then just try to get good value. Again, a lot of these guys are going to go probably a round or 2 later than they would have last year, or maybe even next year, just because it's so deep. Obviously, again, Vikings want to get better in the trenches, whether get a little bit more pass rush going on, or just some more young talent. And there's plenty of options in this draft. So, Omar Norman Lott.
Omar Norman. I love a good hyphenated last name too. ONL. We got a little robot Inman going on, by the way, for the last 30 seconds or so. Just something.
Well, I pulled up, like pro ref. So
our lads.
Gonna happen.
Yeah,
yeah.
If Inman tries to use any other website. On top of StreamYard.com.
Brand new Mac. Yep, brand new Mac. Yep.
You got? Did you actually get a brand new Mac?
Well, it's like 2.5. Sam, how old is this now? 2.5 years.
2 years ish.
2.5.
Yeah.
But I feel like this problem's been going on for like.
It's been happening since like at least 2016. No, 2016.
We're going back that far. Okay, yeah.
Yeah, through like at least 3 MacBooks. which is crazy because I've got a lot of friends with Macs who don't have this problem at all.
Let me ask you this. Have you ever once deleted any of the old shows that you downloaded
That's a great question.
to put on to like upload to YouTube? Are they all still there?
Oh no, they're all gone. No, I've cleared this puppy. I mean, we're bone dry here, Sam. There's nothing on this thing.
Ton of RAM, ton of space. Okay.
I can't. Yeah, I don't know. Help me out, Geek Squad.
The rules, man. you have a high-end creator laptop. You've got the space, all the RAM.
I wouldn't touch a thing. It's all part of the bit. This is a show.
It's part of the bit at this point.
Yeah.
He's the guy that found a way to make the
Never
M2
change.
Max struggle. That's incredible.
Oh, dude, it's got this M2 chip, man. It's so great, dude. Like, just smooth as butter, man. Like, yeah, no, you're fine. Oh, okay. I just want to look at our lads like once a day. Is that fine? Oh, no
It's always
problem,
our
dude.
lads.
No problem, dude. Yeah, our lads, you got it. No problem. Yeah, all right.
Jeez. Let's end the show with Party Foul.
It's time to tell you who spilled their proverbial drink on the sofa. Get ready for this week's Party Foul.
Mine is Arif Hasan withholding information about James Pierce. I mean, this is a place where you share all the dirt that you get, and you're not willing to tell us.
Character concerns. Is that good? Are we good now?
Beyond, so you had a traffic encounter in 2023. Is that something more than that?
You know I care about traffic encounters 2 years ago, Sam. You know that I deeply, deeply care about that.
You are really beholden to the speed limit. That's what you care about.
Yeah, no, that's something I have a passion for.
Yeah.
You remember when I was defending Jordan Addison? That was all a ploy.
Speaking of which, didn't he have a trial?
Did he?
This month?
There was something. There was some like it wasn't like the trial. It was like they
Just
like
a hearing.
I
Maybe
think it was something that
it's one of those hearings where you pick a date where you're going to pick the date. Like
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'll
my
see what I
party
can
foul
find
is
here.
the bureaucracy of the California state court system.
I got it. Jordan Addison filed a continuance of his DUI case on February 11th. A pre-trial hearing is now scheduled for March 12th, according to Ben Gessling. So we might get that's free agency start date. We might get free agency. Jordan Addison, free agency.
Jordan Addison picked a date for the
Good
next
move.
date picking. Like
Good move. That's a Saul Goodman move right there.
I love the law, dude. This is one of my favorite things about investigating the Draft Network story is seeing the 80 different court dates I had to like read through all the filings for. Pre-trial hearing, continuance on the pre-trial hearing, just phenomenal stuff.
How about Party Foul on speaking of, I don't know, Draft Network, maybe think of another fledgling network. How about 33rd Team, like
that was
shuttering?
Party Foul. Yeah.
The Party Foul is that Mike Zimmer and Rick Spielman likely won't be doing like selfie videos for the 33rd Team anymore. That was always fun.
Sad.
Yeah.
I didn't see any
Party
Zimmer
Foul on the
selfies.
33rd Team for, I would argue, misleading all of their written content staff about what their plans were when they initially hired those guys, because it very clearly they've always wanted to turn into a consulting arm for other NFL teams looking to do headhunting stuff. And they got rid of the written content staff in large part because they felt it would potentially represent some kind of conflict, maybe a conflict of interest, if their writers were talking about best fits, best teams, while also they were consulting with people, even though like that's obviously the opinion of the individual writer and not of 33rd Team. But whatever, they publish it on their site. I don't know. I don't love how they conducted business here. I will say this. At least they gave their writers a month or more heads up, which I've seen a lot of sports media companies collapse. A lot of them don't do that. So they at least did that. A lot of people have their contracts end or terminate March 30th. A bunch of other people have their contracts end or terminate April 30th, which is a lot more heads up than a lot of these orgs. But overall, I think it was slimy.
PFF has the exact same issue, right? And that's never been the problem they've had problems, but not that one. Like, I feel like that's an easy one to deal with. And also
the business side is completely separate from their consumer side. And
if it is an issue for you, did you not see that coming? Like, did that catch anybody off guard? Like, that feels like the very first question is like, okay, we're going to do consulting. How do we make sure that it's not a
So the two possibilities the two possibilities are, one, right, that you did see that coming and then you hired all these people anyway, so you could build up the brand and then leverage that while lying to your writers. That's bad. Two, you didn't see it coming, and that's, I think, almost worse. Like some team just kind of mentioned, hey, we didn't like how you insulted the owner of the Jets, me, Woody Johnson. And so we're not really going to continue a consulting contract with you. And for them to just pivot based off of maybe one conversation with the team or something like that, that's like also bad. So I don't love it.
Did they attempt to release some kind of premium for subscription offering to the public? Because I never really understood their model.
I don't think this was an issue of the content side not producing enough income. I don't think it's like they like poor monetization. I'll be interested to find out. I'll see if I can dig around on that one. But I don't think that was the issue. Also, they're holding on to Sam and Steve running the podcast, which I don't see why that wouldn't also represent the same conflict of interest type stuff. Kind of a curious situation, in my opinion.
It is curious. That was a deep party foul. Went into the weeds there. Inman, your party foul's got to be the OKC back-to-backs, right?
The OKC back-to-backs and the Mac M2, 16 gigs isn't enough RAM. What do I got? Mac, let's see, version 12.3.1, Mac OS Monterey. Yeah, party foul.
Party foul. How will
I gotta condense these because I don't know when I'm gonna start going robot. So I gotta really trim these 60-second bits down to like 8.2. So
when locked on
finally found a way to make Inman efficient. That's crazy.
Now just stop asking Ron Johnson multiple follow-up questions. Then I'm almost there.
Oh, that's the best. Did we get around the circle? Luke Braun?
Yeah, Braun. I don't think you got a party foul.
No, it was the red tape of the court system.
Oh, okay.
I didn't have a really good one. Yeah.
Can Jordan Addison successfully delay this trial through the 25 season?
Yeah, we'll hear about
slowing things down has never been his problem.
Hey, got him.
Hey.
Brilliant.
I'm sorry.
Absolutely brilliant. Next show. I think, we've done all of our free agency preview position by position. I think we combine it all together. I want your optimal free agency plan unveiled on the next show. Pick where you invest, pick who you want to invest in, pick where you go a little cheaper. Let's figure it out on our next show.
I will forget.
And I will send notes again on Thursday, and
which I'm sure to read. You're right, Sam. You got it.
And this is the beauty of Arif Hasan, is that he still finds a way to bring the hot takes and stir the pot with little to no preparation. That's how we roll. Minnesota Football Party back on Thursday. Care 11 crew in on Wednesday. Ron Johnson, I think he's back. For tomorrow's Ron Johnson show. We'll find out. I'll log in Tuesday morning and we'll see where in the world Ron Johnson is located or whether he's wearing a shirt. That's all coming up in Locked On Sports Minnesota this week
from his studio.
That has happened before as well. I think post Kirko Chain's viral video, I think Ron did his show shirtless the following time.
Beautiful. Game time.
That was a thing.
Game time.
Appreciate everybody who watched, listened, commented, and subscribed. Appreciate you being loyal to the Minnesota Football Party. Talk to you next time.